So I guess this is like a confession video. You have almost certainly seen the video which I explain about why I stopped using a smartphone and I switched to a flip phone. I no longer use a flip phone or a minimal iPhone. I in fact have gone back to my smartphone. Hold up. Yes, it appears I've just gone back to square one, but I just want to make this video to explain how my circumstances have changed, how my views have changed on phones, and how my experience with a flip phone has transformed how I view smartphones, and also potential future steps from here. Do I still recommend that you switch to a flip phone? Just clearing the air, basically. So when I switched to the minimal iPhone, I also had this smartphone alongside the minimal iPhone as my work phone because I work in digital content and social media, so I needed a smartphone to complete my job. It got to a point where the minimal iPhone, which was great, I loved it so much, had major issue with that phone. Even though I'd replaced the battery still sucked. I don't know if this is just an iPhone thing, but I've had this smartphone, like Samsung smartphone, for a really long time and the battery never dies. So the fact that I'd be out and about and then the battery would like crash or like the phone would crash, it was just like it wasn't functional. If you're relying on this device for very basic things like calling and texting when you're out and about or in case of an emergency, to have the battery down you is not ideal. So that was main reason. I was like, I'm sick of this phone dying on me. This one actually works. It stays on, doesn't crash. It's just a reliable, it just does what it says on the tin. So that was the initial transition. It was kind of like I started with the flip phone, went into minimal iPhone and work phone, and then I slipped out the minimal iPhone and just made my phone a phone that was for work, for personal life, just my phone. As I mentioned, like I have a job in digital content and social media. I started this job in summer and that has involved managing social media pages. It is just like one of those things where it kind of becomes a bit of a fatal flaw because I've basically trained myself in social media, but then I'm also like, oh, social media is difficult and sometimes problematic, so I can't really win because in order to make an income I manage social media and do social media as my job, but that then clashes with my personal views on social media and how I want to use it as an individual. That's still a turmoil that I'm trying to understand and figure out a way of dealing with. Obviously my job being in digital content, to have a flip phone makes my job so much harder. Social media apps are designed to work well as an app on a phone, not on the internet. So yeah, while you can like access Instagram on your laptop or Facebook on your laptop, it just doesn't function in the way that it would when you're on a phone. For example, like if you wanted to post an Instagram reel, you can't actually do that from web, you have to do it from a phone. And then if I'm not posting these reels because I don't have a phone, it's like, what? Why am I even doing that? That doesn't make sense. I want to do my job to the best of my abilities, and unfortunately that involves a smartphone. This is obviously very different, like depends on what job you have, but I feel like a lot of people have this dilemma of like, I need my phone for my job and in my spare time I don't want to use that phone, but I kind of need to because I need to call and text family, and it's like this kind of overlapping Venn diagram of work and personal life with the phone in the middle. I'm still trying to figure that one out, so watch the space on that. I've just realised that there are some things which you can get on a smartphone which you can't get on a flip phone that just make life so much easier. There were things that I had when I had a flip phone that meant I was sacrificing my own ease and simplicity of just functioning in society that I could have just avoided if I had a smartphone. So let me give a few examples. So I recently just moved to a city which has lots of public transport, trains, buses, and there is an app you can download which means you can buy tickets on the go, show them your ticket, scan it. Great. It's just a very simple way of using public transport. I am a big advocate for public transport, and people are only going to use public transport if it's easy for them to do. So the idea of having an app when you can just like scan, buy your ticket, great. It makes so much sense. I am playing into that because I love public transport, and I think the best way and the easiest way for me to utilise that when travelling around the city is to use my phone. A few other things. Booking classes at the gym. My gym has an app which I can just click, book, sorted. I would have to ring, I would have to go in and hope for the best, I would have to like turn on my laptop and log in and do the whole thing. Again, this app just functions. Same thing for the weather. I don't want to be turning on my whole laptop just to check what the weather is so I can make sure I dress appropriately, because I'm a sensitive being. I will get cold. I will be sad if I don't dress appropriately. Spotify. I know I was like, I'm a CD girl. I only use CDs. Well, I sold my car, so I still use CDs. When I'm at home, I have like a CD player. But when you're at the gym, there is just something so good about listening to music through headphones when you're like working out. It just makes you feel like an absolute machine, and you're just like, I think I underappreciated that. There is just some times when you just want to have music to hand, and a flip phone made that kind of difficult. The calendar app. Since having my job and scheduling my time and time blocking, I've been using Google Calendar again. I have been kind of testing this hybrid of doing a planner and also doing Google Calendar, which to be honest I'm a bit like, oh, this isn't a functioning system right now. At the moment, it has just been helpful just to have on my phone to hand when I'm doing stuff. I haven't really found a good system since working full time, because I want to keep my work to-do list and personal events separate, because I don't want to be overwhelmed looking at like the massive list of things I have to do at work. So do I regret having a flip phone in the first place? Definitely not. It was an experience that really allowed me to take a step back from tech and see what impact it's having on my life. Seeing how dependent on smartphones we've become as a society. There's a level at which you can't go against the grain. Little things like in restaurants, I've noticed that quite often you need a QR code to scan the menu, which makes sense, and it does just save like hygiene and germs and things like that. You know, society is slowly getting to the point where it assumes that you have a smartphone rather than assuming you don't. Like, I was in a phone shop the other day with my friend, and I just couldn't help but notice that there was only smartphones for sale. It just made you realise, wait, okay, we live in a world now where smartphones are the normal. They're not like a thing that only people who have money have. They are something that's just, they're so affordable as well. It's a lot harder to fight against the grain with something when society is shifting to accommodate for smartphones. It's just kind of one of those difficult dilemmas where to fight against it, it's just more energy than it is to just accept and try your best to not get addicted. You don't want to get passive with it, because to be passive about using your smartphone can be dangerous, and you can end up falling into habits and routines that mean you are extremely dependent on a smartphone. I think you can own a smartphone without being passive. It's about finding that intentional balance and difference between being addicted and just using a smartphone as a tool, not becoming a tool. So when I had a flip phone, it allowed me to take control of my life again, and it's meant that now using a smartphone, I have a different lens on how I use it, how useful it can be rather than how hindering and destructive it can be. So my potential steps from here, I'm in a place of still figuring out. I'm at the point where it could go downhill, I could get addicted to my phone again. So there's a few things that I've been trying to do to ensure that I stay in control and learn from the 9 months that I spent on a flip phone and not have that be wasted. I want to try and seek out a personal phone so that I can separate my work and my personal life, and having those be separate so that I can, one, have a better work-life balance, but also ensure that I'm not drawn into social media outside of work hours. At the end of the day, I can turn off my work phone and shut it in a drawer and ignore it. But in the meantime, I've been trying to put work apps in one folder so that I can keep it in one place. We'll see. I wanted to make this video as like a watch this space, just reassurance that if you've tried using a flip phone and it didn't work, or you have things in your life that you need to use and they are on a smartphone, that's okay. And more I'm realizing is about the intention behind why you're using a phone and how much time you dedicate to spending time on it. If it's something that you're drawn to every day for hours on end, that's a problem. But if it's just something you are using as a functional tool in your life, and you know, it's at a point where in society it is a tool that they assume everyone has on them at all times, that does make things really difficult. There are still ways of making your phone intentional, and I'm just gonna say we're gonna go on that journey together, and that is okay. I went cold turkey with the flip phone, transitioned into a minimal iPhone, and then I'm back on smartphone. But I think there are ways that we can adapt how we use tech to benefit us, and I don't think it's all bad. I don't know.